For over 3,300 years, Jews have been wearing these fringes both on their talit or prayer shawl, as well as on a four-cornered garment that is typically worn all day. The source for these tzitzit, or holy fringes, is found in the book of Numbers, chapter 37 to 41. One specific detail of this commandment is the fringe of blue. 7 fringes are to be white, while the 8th is to be sky blue or techelet. 7 fringes represent the totality of creation, as in the 7 days of creation, representing the physical world, while the 8th string or fringe represents the spiritual world, the heavenly world, that which transcends the physical. A Jewish child enters the covenant on the 8th day. The miracle of Hanukkah is an 8-day holiday that represent transcending the laws of nature into the realm of miracles. Finally, the number 8, even as a mathematical symbol, represents infinity. And the reason for wearing these holy fringes or tassels, this will be your fringe. You will see it and remember all the Lord's commands and do them, and you shall be holy unto your God. So Korach, Moses' first cousin, comes to challenge Moses and Aaron's leadership. And what Korach says is that the entire congregation is holy. Why do we need Moses and Aaron to be above everyone else? So that's in the written text. In the Midrash, the oral Torah, it says that Korach also included another argument that we're going to look at. The other argument was that he came with an entire garment, four-cornered garment, that was all sky blue. So Korach comes in all sky blue garments saying, if I'm already connected to the world above, if I'm already holy, as he stated earlier in the written text, why do I need to bother myself with these loose fringes, these loose tassels? And why was Moses so confident when he said, of course you still need the tassels, the tzitzit? And because one of the things that the tassels, the holy fringes represent, especially, is the loose ends. The loose ends at the bottom. Those loose ends remind us of our entire purpose of why we came in the world. What does that mean? It means that God created the universe incomplete. He gave us enough that we can manage and maintain, but the loose ends of existence is up to us to bring together, to bring under some kind of organization and further perfection. Let's take a moment and compare the two statements, one by Korach and one by Moshe, on holiness. Here we see Korach claims the entire congregation is holy, whereas Moses, when he's instructing the children of Israel about the fringes, and he says, if you remember God's commands and do them, then and only then you shall be holy. And this means that holiness is something you earn. It's a process, not as Korach would have it, something you claim. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but when God is creating man in Genesis, there's a statement of intention, and then what God actually does. So in the statement of intention, God says that he wants to create man in his image and his likeness. So the interesting thing that I've never noticed before, but it's right there, is when God actually creates man, man is only created in God's image, but the likeness part is left off. So what's going on here is that the rabbis explain that the image of God is what we are created in. We're coming into the world with that potential. Whether it's actually fulfilled Whether it's actually actualized is another story. That's the likeness. So the likeness is the fulfillment of using that potential through the developmental process and growth process of life. It's kind of like the analogy of a seed and a tree. A seed cannot claim the same status as a tree because it hasn't developed into a tree yet. Korach was like the seed claiming his divine status. But Moses was saying, yo, you're only a seed. Stop getting so excited. You have yet to develop into a tree. So now we understand what actually happens to Korach at the end of the challenge. Remember, he was trying to literally take over Moses' place, but failed. So what was his punishment? And his punishment is very interesting, is that the Torah says that the ground opened up and it devoured Korach and his posse. So if you look at the seed and tree analogy, that's a perfect way to end a life of a seed. Because the seed never wanted to surrender to actually earning your status. When you say, I'm already holy, and you feel you are deserving of special treatment, that life should conform to you, that's called spiritual entitlement. And entitlement and this idea of walking around life thinking you're deserving rather than serving is going to inevitably not end well, as it did for Korach. The real sin of Korach was that he was trying to reach his greatness by being somebody else. Korach didn't want to be Korach. Korach wanted to be Moses. Korach wanted to be Aharon, Aaron. But Korach doesn't realize that when God creates you in his image, when he creates you, he also gives you a soul address. And that soul address is where you need to be living so that God may reach you. When you're changing addresses, when you're trying to be like other people and not claiming your own light, your own image, then you'll never reach your likeness. Don't try to develop yourself into someone else's likeness. You're here to be you. You're here to claim you. That's how you're going to reach your real essence of your soul and spirit and light. The two mistakes is he wanted something that wasn't his. He wanted somebody else's job or someone else's role in society. And the second mistake was he didn't want to put in the effort. And when we cannot do it on our own, we invite our Creator, our Lord, our source of all strength and clarity and light to help lead us the way.